what we're going to do today is go over some updates to the annual report and some information on the 100R. Changes and enhancements to the annual report. We've made a few. Hopefully we've made the annual report better and a little bit easier to work with. The 100R is new to the gateway. When you sign on to the gateway, there's going to be a new application on that initial screen, so you can select the 100R application. So now there will be 4: the annual report, the budget, the debt management system, and then the 100R. We'll discuss the data you need to enter into the 100R, which employees to list, the compensation, initial questions, and the upload process. A few reminders. If you have questions concerning the annual report or the 100R, email those questions to this email address, annualreport@sboa.in.gov. I know several of you people know Linda Baker and have emailed her directly. Please use this address rather than email Linda directly. Linda and myself and a couple other people are going to be monitoring this address. So if one of us isn't there, then somebody else can help you with your questions. Now, some questions either myself or Linda will have to deal with, but at least you'll get the question in the system, and we'll try to deal with it the best we can. But if you email one of us directly and we're not there, it just kind of sits in limbo. So if you have questions, email the question to annualreport@sboa.in.gov. Also, we've noticed that a lot of units are emailing annual report questions to DLGF. That just delays the process. So their address is gateway@dlgf.in.gov. Budget and debt management questions go to DLGF. Annual report and 100R questions come to SBOA. How many of you have looked at the annual report user guide? A few. That is the next reminder. There's a lot of information in the user guide. It was obvious from last year. There was many questions we got that were covered in the user guide. It was pretty obvious that those people did not read the user guide and did not try to use the user guide to find the answer. So read the user guides. We will be updating the annual report user guide for the changes in the annual report, and we will also be writing a separate user guide for the 100R. Okay, general changes and enhancements. We've made some changes to the receipts and disbursement categories. The receipts were emailed, you were notified of the receipt changes this spring. Board of Accounts and DLGF are working to try to make the codes consistent. The first go around was receipts. We've reached some agreement with DLGF on disbursements. We will be implementing the disbursements for this upcoming annual report due in 2013. Those disbursement codes will not be updated in the budget system until the summer of 2013. We're going to roll forward the funds and the beginning balances from the 2011 annual report to the 2012 annual report. There's further discussion on how this roll forward will work, particularly in the counties, later on in the presentation. If you do the upload, The upload data will overwrite what's being rolled forward. Also, because of the roll forward process, that roll forward process will be done at a point in time. So if you make changes to your 2011 annual report after the roll forward process occurs, those changes will not move forward to 2011 or 2012. We're going to roll forward some additional information such as grants, debts and leases, and the non-governmental page, payments to non-governmental units. We've had this request, and because several units have a lot of grants and a lot of payments to non-governmental units and the debts and leases. However, the amounts in these screens will not roll forward. This is on purpose. We want you to fill in the amounts. We feel like there's too big a temptation if we roll forward those amounts. You just won't change the numbers. And those data entry screens, the numbers aren't really all that difficult to enter. Okay, we're going to add columns to the grant schedule. First of all, we're going to add a column to indicate whether the grant is an advance versus a reimbursement grant. Does everybody know what the difference is between an advance grant and a reimbursement grant? Okay. The advance grant is you receive the money from the granting agency before you spend any money. So you're spending from the grant receipts. A reimbursement grant is you spend the money first, and then the granting agency sends you a reimbursement for what you've already spent. The reason we're doing this is because the audit requirements and the way we audit the grants change based on whether the grant is an advance grant or a reimbursement grant. And we're going to add a column for the receipts for the grant. The last annual report had just the disbursements of the grant. We're going to add a column for the receipts. We're going to allow, another change is we're going to allow users with edit permission to run a pre-submitted edit check on the data. Again, this has been a request from several different entities from last go-around. I'll go over review the permissions. If you have edit permission, you can enter and change the data, but you can't submit. And if you have submit permissions, and generally we want the fiscal officer to submit, that would be the auditor. So they're the only ones that actually can submit the annual report. And what we've had in the past is the deputy fills out all the stuff and thinks it's ready, hands it off to the auditor submits, and they get some submission errors. So you got to go back, and whoever did the data entry needs to change that stuff. Well, now we're going to have the ability for the editor, your deputy, who fills out the annual report, to run a process that will do a pre-submission edit so they can find and fix those errors before they hand it off to you. Okay, the new chart of accounts. Since some of you have already implemented the new chart of accounts and others have not, we have modified the upcoming annual report to accept both sets of fund numbers. You'll be asked an initial question up front, and you'll indicate which set of funds, old or new, you're going to be using to submit your annual report. This is an either-or decision. The funds cannot be mixed. So you're either on the new chart of accounts or you're using the old funds. It's an either-or decision. Now, as always, if you have home rule funds, that aren't on the standard fund list for the annual report, you'll have the ability to add those funds as custom funds. There will also be a question concerning whether or not you'll be uploading the data. And this was in the past annual report. There's a separate upload process. But with the advent of the old versus the new funds, this is going to cause some issues. And there's 3 basic scenarios that I'm going to go over. The first one will take care of itself. If you're uploading, the validation for the correct funds will be based on your answer to the fund question, old or new. So if you're whether or not, whichever set you're using, then those data files that are coming in through the upload, they're going to be validated on the old or new. Again, if you choose new and you have one fund that's the old, the upload will fail. If you choose old and you have one new fund, the upload will fail. It's an either-or situation. Come on. Regardless of which set of funds you use, the upload data will overwrite the funds and balances that roll forward from last year. That's the standard upload process. The upload trumps anything that was in the system before. The second scenario is if you're not uploading. That means you're gonna enter the data manually, and you're going to use the old funds. Again, this one doesn't really cause any problems either. The funds and balances will roll forward from last year. The same funds you used last year with the last year's ending balance will be this year's beginning balance. And then you would continue with manual data entry of the receipts and disbursements. The scenario that does cause a problem is if you're not uploading and you want to use the new set of funds. The reason this will cause a problem is the funds and balances will roll forward and be there, but they're the old funds. Because of this, you would normally have to delete all the old funds and then re-enter the new funds using the new chart of accounts. And we realize this would be a cumbersome manual process, so we're attempting to mitigate this with a partial solution. So if you want to use the new funds but not upload, once you answer the questions that way, new funds, not upload, and hit proceed, the system will delete all the old funds for you and then add all the new funds back. And we understand that you may not be using all the new funds in the new chart of accounts, but it's a lot easier for you to go through and delete those than add them manually. The problem is there will be no beginning balances. From what I understand, that's been a problem on your implementation of the new chart of accounts, that the funds do not flow very good, so it's hard to actually automate those beginning balances. And actually, even if it were, I'm not sure IBRC would have the resources to do that for us. Like I said, it's a partial solution. We'll delete the old funds and add back the new funds, but you're going to have to enter the beginning balances. This process cannot be undone. So if you make a mistake in answering the questions, you're back to scratch. Now, that's why we're really encouraging you and your vendors to get together and get upload working for you. Because if you can upload your financial data by funds data, that's going to help everybody involved. We're working with IBRC to try to make improvements to the upload process, particularly in the area of air reporting. I'm not sure how successful we'll be, but we're going to give it a try. Now, one problem is the new charter of accounts in the future. The official deadline for implementation of the new charter of accounts is January 1, 2013. That means your 2013 books should be on the new chart of accounts. Because of this deadline and your 2013 books should be on the new chart of accounts, we are looking at making the 2013 annual report that's due in 2014 accept only the new funds. Because of this, if you still aren't uploading, you will face the same problem in 2014. So again, we encourage you to get with your vendors, and if you didn't upload last year, try to get your upload process working. Any questions? I see your hand back here. The 2013 report due 2014, you're supposed to be on the new chart of accounts. You'll still be able to enter manually, but when you add the new funds, it will validate those new funds against those new fund table. I heard somebody else. Actually, I didn't put it on the webpage on purpose. I want you guys to read the user guide. What specifically are you interested in? The upload and the fun stuff? No, I can put something together on the funds and the upload process. In fact, I think the memo that went out indicated that there was going to be a problem, and they encouraged you to upload. But if you're going to look something up concerning the annual report, the best guidance is the user guide. I really don't see a point in looking through my presentation when the best guidance is going to be the user guide. Yes. No, you do. You do. Upload is completely optional. You do not have to do the upload, but it's sure going to help you. Correct. She wants to know whether you have to do the upload, and the answer is no. The upload is completely optional, but it's highly recommended. The more funds that you have, the more it's recommended, because entering this data manually is rather tedious. And with the new chart of accounts coming through, it's going to make it worse. So even though the upload is completely optional, it's highly recommended. Okay. Okay. Are you gonna upload or not? Then you need to delete those funds. You need to delete those funds. If you answer the questions correctly, that you're on the new chart of accounts and you're not doing the upload, then those funds, all your funds will be deleted, and then the new funds will be added for you. Actually, if you were on the new chart of accounts in 2011, the numbers you have in there they're listed as custom funds. We want the chart of account, we want the annual report to use the new chart of accounts numbers as standard funds. If you read the user guide, there's an explanation of the difference between standard funds and custom funds. Let me give you an example. Levy excess fund. I don't know what the new numbers are, but let's say the new numbers for levy excess fund is 1,500. Okay. We want everybody to use 1,500. That's the purpose of the chart of accounts. In 2011, that fund was added, and you would have your fund number as 1,500, but the system would have a different fund number because it has to keep track of everybody's fund number. Because a city and town might be using fund number 1,500 for something else. So the standard fund tables are associated with fund numbers and account types and names. Even though you added that fund as a custom fund, it's not using a standard fund number. So when say the budget agency wants to run a report off this system to see how much balance is in everybody's levy excess fund, they would be looking for a specific fund number. And if the system has a different fund number, then they'll get erroneous results. That's why we're using a standard fund table in the annual report, and we're going to a standard chart of accounts for the units to have consistency. It's a painful process for everybody, but long term, it's gonna pay off. Does that help answer your question? Yeah. I'm not sure I understood. I had trouble hearing. Okay. So, sub-funds should be added as custom funds.
Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You want to answer?
If I understand the question correctly, the question is, should sub-funds be added as a standard fund or a custom fund? If I'm understanding the chart of accounts correctly, sub-funds are more or less like home rule funds. TIF funds, you could have multiple TIF funds as sub-funds. And what is the number, 1,400? let's just say it was 1,400 for
It's
TIF
like
fund.
4,400, I believe.
So 1401 might be a specific TIF fund for one county, and 1401 might be a different TIF fund for a different county. The standard fund list is going to be the same fund used the same way in all counties. That's the purpose of the standard fund. For sub funds, because their numbering can be set by the unit, but within a specific range, then those funds, if you use those, should be added as custom funds. Do you agree with that?
I do. I do agree with that, John. And the reason you would do that is because for audit purposes, we've got to audit back to the detail, but yours will be called the Greenway TIF Debt Fund, and that might be your 4401, and 4402 could be the Riverfront TIF Debt Service Fund. But in another county, 4401 is titled something totally different. So it can't be custom. But what will be custom is that if somebody wants the TIF debt service information, they can look at 4400, which is the total of all of that. It's the control fund, and they can just look in general. Your county has X dollars of TIF debt.
Anything else on the annual report? Okay, let's move on to the 100R. Okay, data to enter on the 100R. It's essentially the same as the previous 100R. The employee's name, the office or department that the employee works, the business address. Now, we want the business address. I know we've seen many units, and so, especially the small units, but sometimes some big units, they give us what appears to be the employee's home address. We don't want the employee's home address. We want the business address. Their job title, position, or duties. I think the statute actually says duties, but job title and position is a pretty good indicator of what the duties are, and it's a little bit easier to deal with. And then the compensation. Which employees to list on the 100R. This is going to be a little bit different. The old way, if you read the instructions, the old way was to list each person that was employed during the month of January. This could leave out a lot of employees. Your summer temporary employees, an employee that got hired in February and then left in December. So to make it more useful for the citizens, and really we think it's going to be a little bit easier to deal with for you guys. List all the people employed during the past calendar year. You already do this. Think of W-2s. That's a list of employees that were employed during the past calendar year. So it shouldn't be a big transition for you. Amount of compensation. We're changing this also. The old way, the compensation was listed on a per unit basis. For example, $10 per hour or $500 per week. We felt that this wasn't really very useful for the citizens. Left out overtime pay, depending on how many hours worked, bonuses, all sorts of things. So we're going to a new way. List the amount paid to the employee for the year. Again, you have this information. Think of the W-2. Now you got to be careful. You can't just pull the compensation from the W-2's taxable wages box because various things. The biggest example is in state employees' case, deferred comp. So if an employee was paid $50,000 and they contributed $10,000 to deferred comp, then their taxable wages on their W-2 would be $40,000. So that would be incorrect. They were actually paid $50,000. Cafeteria plans are also tax deductible. So that's another thing you got to be aware of. I'm glad the IRS lady was here before my presentation, because it kind of helps in dealing with this. You might think taking the Social Security wages out of the W-2 box. Again, that might not reflect accurately the amount that the employee was compensated, especially in university situations. There are a lot of university employees that get paid over the maximum amount for Social Security. I know Coach Crane gets several $100,000, and that's way above the Social Security wage amount. Now, your payroll system should have all this data in there. It's just a matter of extracting which pieces of data and doing the manipulation. So again, it shouldn't be too big a deal if you can get your vendor involved. Yeah. I'll show you. That's our web page. Just I'll show you. Okay. That's our web page. Go to Gateway 100R. Here's an overview. There's an overview. If you want to get some detail, here's the upload specs. Again, it goes into some detail, and then you can give this to your vendor. In fact, I already emailed the vendors we know about it, and gave them the link. So here's some more detail. We don't have the user guide done yet because the system isn't done. We put a lot of screenshots in the user guide, so we're waiting on that to do the screenshots. Okay? Okay. We're also going to have some initial questions in the 100R. One of the first ones is, are you going to enter the data manually or upload a file? I'll go over the upload in a little while. Now I'll go through this assuming that we're going to do it manually. So the next question would be the number of employees, full and part-time, that you paid compensation during the year. This will give you we've had criticism in the annual report that it's too cumbersome to add a line at a time. So if you report that you're going to report 50 employees, the data entry grid will be filled out with 50 grid lines. So you can just start typing, and you won't have to click add a row after each entry. Some small units may report 0 employees, and if you enter 0 employees in that box, then you'll get a couple other questions. The most likely unit with 0 employees that really is related to the county are the county soil and water conservation districts. They will most likely enter 0 employees, and they will say, Our employees are paid by another unit, yes or no? If yes, enter in the name of the unit. So when they fill out the 100R, they're going to enter 0 and then enter, yes, our employees are paid by the county, and then give us the county. When you fill out the 100R, it would be really helpful for everybody concerned that you put whatever county you are, soil and water conservation district as a department. That way we can cross-check. If somebody's really looking for somebody, they can cross-check. Another reason why they might enter 0 is they really don't have any paid employees. Given the presentation by the IRS lady, I think this is going to be relatively rare. Okay, these questions are taken from the new statutes. Does your unit offer a health plan to employees? Does your unit offer a pension plan to employees? And does your unit offer other benefits to employee? And we've separated out full-time versus part-time. So all you have to do is answer yes or no. Now, we've had questions of what is other benefits. Other benefits, that's the exact term used in the statute, but they didn't define it. So I can't really tell you. Anything that is not payroll related would be another benefit. Reimbursement for college tuition might be another benefit. That's common. Fee remission for college tuition, that's common in the universities. And then for counties and cities and towns, we have 2 additional questions. Has your unit implemented a nepotism policy and a contracting policy per the code? We're just asking for yes or no. We're not asking for a copy of your policy. We're not asking whether your policy, you're following your policy. We're just asking whether you have a policy. Okay, the upload process. Is the upload process a viable alternative for you? How many employees do you have? For a township trustee, maybe has 5 employees, it's probably just as easy for them to manually data enter 5 employees. We have some big counties here, probably a couple hundred employees, maybe. That would be kind of tedious to data enter. So you might want to consider the upload. The more employees you have, the more likely it is you'll use the upload. The state of Indiana and IU have 20, 30,000 employees. They're not going to enter that manually. They're going to upload. Is the required data already in electronic format? I'm pretty certain that every one of you counties has a computerized payroll system. If that's the case, then you already have it in electronic format. Can the data be extracted into a properly formatted CSV file? Most systems, there are some systems that normal users can extract data into various file types. Some of the older systems, you'll probably need to have your vendor help you with that. By the way, if you don't know what a CSV file is, then you probably need your vendor to help you with it. Who will create the process to extract the data into a CSV file? That, again, some of the more modern systems, you might be able to do that yourself, but most of the older systems, you'll have to have your vendor do that. Again, the upload is not mandatory. It's your option. Depending on these factors, it's your decision. Any questions? A quiet group.
It got real quiet then.
There's all kinds of questions at the township meeting. Yeah.
They can find your presentation on the State Board of Accounts Treasurer's Conference material right here. On this presentation, if you want a copy of it. Because I pulled it off.
Really?
He did not do this presentation for treasurers, I can assure you.
Where it was. That's where I found it. It's the very same presentation.
Probably township trustees, because that would have been the first group you would have talked
I
to.
wasn't aware it was out there.
Yeah, it is out there.
But it does look like your presentation.
Okay.
Sorry, it looks like your PowerPoint. Thank you very much. So it is somewhere on our website. We'll find out where it is, and we'll let you know where that is before we leave on Friday. But probably township trustees, because he didn't talk to treasurers about this, because no matter how hard you try, you're not going to get the treasurer to do this for you.
What?
They're saying
Oh,
it's the clerk treasurer's meeting where he presented this material. So, but it is on Board of Accounts website, but you have to pretend to be a city and town and go to the clerk treasurer's section. But we can get it put over here in ours too.
it was not my intent.
Oh, go to the user guide. Sorry.
Leads into the reminders. Again, read the user guides. Of those who saw the last year's user guide, was it helpful? Okay, I see some nods out there. Yeah. No, the user guide is not available for the 100R yet.